What's going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning to another episode of Right on Cue Podcast. I'm your host, Logan Chestnut. Joining me tonight is my barbecue brother, Mr. AJ Johnson, and also, as always, Mr. Houston Lyle. And together we make Small Batch Barbecue.
What's up, y'all?
What's up, man?
Oh, dude, fun weekend, slump buster weekend. What?
Yeah, you had a big time.
It was nice, man. It's nice to not, get your teeth kicked in every once in a while, worried about the dental work. And it was nice, man. It was nice. It was good seeing Justin.
How's his baby doing?
Doing good, man.
Yeah, beautiful, man. I'm so happy it looks like the mom and not him.
Yeah, no doubt.
No, man. She brought him to the contest day of. I got to meet the whole family. Justin's brothers and stuff was all there. It was cool.
Nice. I'm glad he's doing well.
Yeah, I mean, he's good. I told him, I said, sleep's overrated. It's all good.
That's right.
You can do that when you're dead. It's fine.
I know. Then he's doing Disney too. I don't know if he's bringing the baby to Disney or not. But oof,
That'd be rough.
AJ, have you done the Disney trip yet?
Nah, man. I'll be my first one coming up soon.
That's right. Yeah, no, I was telling him about the rope drops and all that fun stuff. He goes, "What's that?" I said,
"Good luck."
I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Call me. I'll teach you the ways of the mouse." But no, man, it's the barbecue season is on the way. It is killing it. We got Memphis and Mays coming up 3 weeks.
Yeah, 3 weeks. I believe.
Is it? It's not the same weekend as the Invitational, is it?
No, I think it's the same weekend as Winchester, if I'm not mistaken. The 19th.
Oh, yes. Man, that's gonna be fun. I saw throwback to the 90s. I saw is it Macy's Playground is gonna be playing at Memphis and May. That's a little, or is it Macy's Playground? Or it was someone else?
Marcy's Playground.
That's it. Yeah, that one's it's the sister band of Marcy's Playground. Yeah,
Marcy, same thing.
I think it's Marcy's Playground. I think they're doing that. So a little sex and candy going on in Memphis.
Mm-hmm. Let's see who's on the lineup. Boop doo doo. Well, of course it's not loading now. Fantastic.
I know it's that lovely dial-up internet HughesNet.
It's not dial-up. It's just here. Our internet is very spotty.
As fancy of a town you live in, you think it'd be like just the creme de la creme.
No, hell no, man. You can sneeze on it and it will go out.
Rough.
No, man. But I mean, we're excited for this weekend. We got our first double of the year coming up this weekend. Aniana,
man.
Yeah, if you guys haven't got signed up yet, man, I think there's still time. Got catfish dinner on Friday night, and here at Right on Cue Podcast going to be providing free beer and hot wings, and for Saturday night. So man, you got to check it out. So,
heck yeah.
But no, man, we got the draft happen. I don't think all this stuff was happening this last week. The NFL draft, Titans didn't completely screw it up. So.
Yeah, unlike the Predators, man, who are I'm holding my breath tonight. They are going to screw this up.
What is the record right now?
Canucks are up 3-1, so it's do or die from here on out.
We were down there Sunday when the game was going on. Me and my wife, we went and a kid. We watched the Harry Potter, the Symphony.
Oh, how was that?
It was really cool. It was different, man. I'd never been to that kind of thing before. It was different. My daughter was like, "It's scary, it's loud." I'm like, "Honey, just watch the band, watch the orchestra. This is fancy." Mm-hmm. But no, man.
There are some fantastic acts on the lineup this year, Logan. It includes the Lumineers, the Roots, Earth, Wind, and Fire, Robert Plant, and Alison Krauss. Oh, 311 is there.
I mean, that goes together. Robert Plant and 311.
Live for your 90s throwback.
What?
Yeah.
I may have Winchester then. I don't know. We'll see.
Drew Hill.
Well,
let's see. Moon Taxi. Oh, man. This is, and you know what? Can confirm Marcy's Playground.
There you go. I knew I was right. That's right. But no, man. I wonder if we're gonna see another guy down at Memphis in May this year. they took the contest by storm the last couple of years, a few years, and we'll see.
Are we getting into our guest?
I think so. I think it's a barbecue show. We need to talk about barbecue stuff.
Barbecue show. Talk about it, and boy, do we have major goat status on here tonight.
We got MJ status, man. You know, the white mamba.
White mamba.
No, man. He's this guy is the creme de la creme. If you know anything about competition barbecue and you don't know this guy's name, you should move out from that rock and move into a house, because this guy is killing it. He is on my meat Rushmore. I think he's on all of our meat Rushmore.
I was going to say he's on everybody's meat Rushmore we've talked about or talked to.
Absolutely. And this guy I am so excited to have. So without further ado, let's bring on Mr. Brad Leininger.
Woo!
I'm going to see if I can get the white mamba to stick, by the way.
Dude, you got the white mamba, right?
Mamba mentality, and it's a white snake.
I can just see Brad doing the whole dodgeball.
White snake might be at Memphis MA too. From the sound of it.
Oh, hey! I thought they quit doing the music festival in Memphis. They bring
I
it
think
back?
it's a different weekend. I think they do I think Marcy's Playground. I think you're right. Is there when we're there? They give us kind of like the BX and all those A teamers are there for a weekend. I think, but
don't you dare say Marcy's Playground's a B act. All right,
it's going to be Drew Hill at Marcy's Playground. Every over the hill act live. Every over the hill act from.
And Chin went nuts. They had Coolio there a couple years ago, and that was
R.I.P.
Probably the highlight of Tim's life.
Oh yeah,
Coolio.
Yeah,
he got to see Gangster's Paradise in person.
He did. Yeah. It was. Awesome. I don't know if he remembers it or not, but yeah, he saw it.
Oh. I would definitely remember that.
Well, he's into the. He's into his fireball pretty heavily at that time. So
it happens. It happens.
Pretty short.
Is Coolio still with us? Did I just kill him off on this podcast, or did I make that up?
I think he did die, didn't he? I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you're right.
All right. Coolio.
Way to be recent, Houston.
Rest in power, King.
Rest in power, King. No, man, Brad. Hey, thank you so much for coming on the show, bro. I know you got a busy schedule. We got coming up this weekend. You got anything?
No, I'm actually off this weekend. We opened the new restaurant a couple weeks ago, and
nice.
I'm off, and then going to Lamar, Colorado. I've got 6 right now. I'm trying to get my 7th win to get the Jag. So I usually do pretty good out in Colorado. So I'm going out there. Then of course Memphis in May, and then KCBS Invitationals the week after that. So hopefully I can scare up a 7th win here and get back to the Jag.
We'll see you there, man. We'll be there. That's right down the road from us, man.
You guys are doing Memphis in May then, not the alternative contest down by the river. I'm not even sure who's doing what this year, but it's
I'm not. I have an invite to cook on a team in Memphis in May, but there's another sanction comp that I love doing that's pretty close in Tennessee. So I may sit that one out, although I probably shouldn't, but I don't know. I'm a sucker for competition versus just being a big bitch. Sure. But anywho, man, are y'all cooking Memphis in May again this year?
Oh yeah, we're doing whole hog.
Oh wow!
So hopefully we got 3rd in the hog last year. Won the whole thing the year before. So we're coming in a little mad. We left it on the table last year. We knew we didn't have our best cook. Didn't have our best finals, and we're kind of coming in a little bit angry this year. So
well, last year Ribs won for the first time in how many forever?
Yeah, almost 20 years, I think. I want to say, yeah. So it was. It seemed like it was setting up that way. Everybody was kind of talking about it all weekend. So it kind of seemed like it was going to be a rib team to lose anyway. And man, I mean, got a good rib. It should win every now and then. I think it's a good thing.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, it was due. It's like the Cubbies. Every once in a while you got to toss a bone.
Once in a century.
Yeah, once in a century we got it. No, but anyways, man. So getting back to barbecue. On topic, if you don't mind, I know you've done 10,000 of these, but the ticker tack version of where Getting Basic came from. Yeah,
I mean, I started competing. My first contest was in 2012 at our local event here in Springfield, Missouri, and I kind of got into it we'd always watch Pit Masters and everything else kind of at that time that was big. And we're in Missouri, so we cook barbecue. And a friend of mine had signed up for this contest and he couldn't do it. And he was just kind of, hey, you want to put your money where your mouth's at? And I'm like, yeah, what the hell, And so I actually borrowed a smoker. I'd never cooked a full packer brisket before, it just went out there. I had no idea what KCBS chicken was. I don't think anybody does until they get into it. Went out there and we got 3 meat calls. The only thing we would have won the contest if I knew what I was doing on chicken. And needless to say, the hook was set. We had accidentally run into Blues Hog when we were at the lake of the Ozarks, and they had it, they bottle it around here. And so we used Blues Hog. We didn't know everybody used it, but we
got lucky
in finding Blues Hog, which is kind of funny years later with our relationship with them. And that it managed to cook some good meat and get some meat calls. And now, several hundreds of thousands of dollars spent later, here we are still going.
Do you even think about how much money you spent on this hobby?
I don't. We actually keep track of it now, because we run it through the businesses, and I mean it's well into 7 figures. I can tell you.
I was going to say you have people that keep track of it now.
I don't even like to see it because I probably wouldn't do as many if I looked at it. You know what I mean? Because it's obscene. But usually I pretty well bet. You can't really necessarily throw trailers and trucks and all that stuff in there. But if you kind of just look at day-to-day expenses versus prize money, I end up breaking pretty well even, and then throw classes and sponsorships and stuff on there. I end up running a profit, but the hourly pay sucks. I mean, the amount of time you put in there, you had to figure it out. So, it's been good to me. I mean, competition barbecue's been good to me, and it's led to other things, led to my businesses and the restaurants, everything else. And we kind of did 8 contests that first year. And after that, man, we jumped right in. I think we did 25 the second year, and then we've gone up and I've done as many as 50 before in a year. I'm backing off. I'm going to be about that 20, 25 range again now. And man, it's been a blessing, in my life and my kids' life and my family. And it's really changed the trajectory of everything I've done, because of competition barbecue. So I'm truly, it's really a success story as far as it goes. And
absolutely, man.
Absolutely. Just never really thought about it. Just went out and cooked. Just like you said, man, I'm a sucker for contests. And so just went out there and cooked contests and woke up one day and realized I've got a bunch of restaurants and I've won a few of them. So yeah, it's been a journey.
That's awesome, man. So what were you what was your occupation or so? You always been in the food industry, or you just?
No, I was an IT guy. I think a lot of barbecue guys are. I worked. I did some consulting, and then I was working for an electric cooperative for a while when I first started cooking. And I had come from a restaurant background, and I'd always liked to cook. But as you guys know, if you've ever been in that business, it's not conducive necessarily to raising a family, the hours that it takes. And if you don't own the places, and even if you do own the places, a lot of times there's not a lot of money in the dang thing. So, I went out and got a, quote unquote real job and worked out forever. And even before I left the IT world, we'd opened the restaurants, and I partnered with a guy that I actually worked with back in my college days, is my business partner in the restaurants. And so even when I got back into the restaurant industry, I didn't go full in until recently, until the last 4 or 5 years when I've exclusively done barbecue.
I got you. But so I know you got to, I mean, that's like I said, to make that leap, I feel like that's every pitmaster's ideal progression. I love this. I can smoke meats. This is who I am now. I am a barbecue guy. And then to make that natural progression. I mean, I think I say probably 80% of every pitmaster competitor, and they're lying if they're saying the restaurant in their head is not what they dream about. Sometimes they're like, oh, this could be a great thing, and for you to go out and do it and succeed. And obviously you have multiples now, so I always love hearing success stories, and seeing people. You always hear a lot of failures, but to hear success stories is awesome.
Yeah, but I mean that leap from weekend warrior pitmaster to I own a restaurant now seems like.
I mean, it's a leap of faith. I mean, especially coming from, I was relatively successful. I mean, I was funding my barbecue habit with my other jobs, and I was relatively successful in what I was doing, and it was, man. I mean, it's, I call it the velvet handcuffs is what I called my old jobs, man. Had good benefits, had good pay, had good, and you could pretty well chart out the rest of your life if you wanted to, and taking those off and taking the jump, man, it was you know, it was, I can't say it wasn't scary. I mean, it was, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, you know, I'm going to do this. And in order to give my restaurants and my barbecue business what it needs, I need to free up the time. And, I lost a little sleep over it. I'm not going to lie. And it ended up working out pretty good, you know, obviously, but you didn't always know that at the time. And, you know, now it's kind of funny because my wife works for us, does all our catering. I mean, it's just like our whole, like it's a true family business now. And COVID came along, and that was a whole nother, a whole nother bag of stress that you didn't need when you realize how exposed you are, you know, to the tourism and restaurant industry where we're at, and then something comes along and threatens it. So it hasn't always been a smooth ride, but definitely, you know, you don't know how it's going to work out. But what I like about it is when I was in the IT industry, I kind of knew like, okay, I could kind of, I'm going to be, you know, you're getting consistent raises. You're doing this, you're doing that. What I love about this is I don't have a clue. Like I don't know what I'm going to be making. I don't know what the top end of this thing is. I don't know what, you know, I'm kind of eating what I kill, so to speak. And I love the unknown and a little bit of that, man, I don't know. I mean, I can make $1 million next year. I can make nothing. You know what I mean? And I kind of like that, you know, being a competitor and a little bit of a gambler. I kind of like that.
Yeah, absolutely. White collar gambling is what it is right there.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
It's gambling with food.
Yeah. It's, you know, it costs in the industry and labor and everything else, man. It's not the easiest business to be in, but we've got good people and we're in a good place. So
no, I mean, I feel like staffing alone is just a nightmare.
Yeah.
Or can be.
It is. And you don't blame them. And, you know, people go off and get better jobs, and you can't, it's hard, you know, and we want the best for our employees. And, you know, some of them are going to college, whatever, this, that, and the other. And that's how you end up losing some good people. And, you know, you don't necessarily want them not to move on because you want what's best for them. And the restaurant industry is hard on everybody. I mean, it really is. So, you know, you get a lot of transitional employees, and that's just part of it.
I got you, man. Well, hey, let me ask you a question. So, like, I mean, everybody knows you're, you know, a can guy. You're a big gateway guy. Have you always started on gateways? You always started on cans, or like what led you to do cans?
No, I started out, I was on a stick burner, you know, and I said I borrowed it, you know, so our first year we were running a stick burner, and then I actually bought an Assassin, you know, gravity feed, and that was kind of back in, I said 2012. Everybody was kind of running those.
Sure.
Stumps and there were a lot, especially down the southeast. There were a ton of gravity feds going on out there. And I had run into Tim, and he was actually running a pellet cooker for the most part. He was on a FEC, so on a Fast Eddie, but he you know, if you guys know Tim, man, he's going to put a paint job on anything. And he had like the first model gateway drum. And this is my second contest ever. And I'm kind of by Tim, and Tim actually ends up winning the contest. And I do pretty well. I think I finished 4th or 5th, and it was my second contest. And I'm like, man, I kind of like that. I kind of started looking at the cans, and then I kind of met Noah from Pit Barrel Cookers. I kind of ran into him, and I bought a pit barrel, and I started cooking at home on that. And I started doing my competition chicken on a pit barrel. And then that second year, so early in 2013, I contacted Tim, and I said, hey, man, I want to buy one of your barrels, you know. And so early, like that April, I bought my first gateway drum from him. And then I won my first grand championship that next weekend after I bought the drum. I cooked ribs and pork. I cooked pork and brisket on the drum, on the same drum, and loved it. Ended up doing really well. And then I ended up ordering a couple more. It's kind of funny because Tim didn't even know what to charge me. You know, he kind of showed.
So he just started off gateway then.
What's that? Yeah, start up. I had a pit barrel also at first, but gateway was the first legitimate competition drum. And there weren't a lot of options out back then, man. It was make your own or buy a gateway. You know, I mean, he's kind of the original one.
And, was he like the first, or it was so when you bought yours from him, you were one of his earlier customers, I'm guessing? It just like Ground Roots got off the.
Yeah, I mean, I was one of the first 3 or 4 people buy. He said he didn't know how to price it. I'm like, how much it costs? He's like, I don't know. And I'm like, I didn't know him that well. I'm like, well, I mean, you kind of got to give me a price. And I think I paid $400 or something like that for the first one. I don't know that I bought one since, to be honest with you, but sure. Paid $400 for the first one, and he didn't even know what to charge me. But man, I loved it. I mean, it's just such a same as just cooking. It's an attitude and it's a lifestyle, cooking on cans. And back then, man, nobody knew it. Like we go down into your neck of the woods, we go down to into Tennessee or down in the southeast, man, and everybody kind of look at you like, is that all you got? You're like, yeah, that's all. We'd show up.
That's it.
Man. We'd show up at 6 a.m. and we'd sit there and cook as fast as we could. It was just, he had a whole attitude. And, we were all walking around the Royal with our insane can posse, hoodies and everything. And there was about 10 of us. And we were really learning what we were doing. It was a whole lot of fun, man. We're sitting there, we figuring stuff. Like, we didn't even know we had to clean them. Like that's one of the things I remember. My scores were going down. I'm like, man, what the hell? Then I remember I was at a potluck that we were having after the contest. And somebody's like, hey man, leave your drum hot. I want to heat up some potatoes on there. And it was covered in foil and everything. And they put the potatoes on there and they heated it up. I'm at the potluck and I'm tasting them later. I'm like, holy crap, man, I can taste the drum. Like I can taste the grease on there. And so the next weekend I cleaned them out and, my drum's out, went to the contest, scored like a 706, won everything in the world. Like my scores jumped 20 points instantly. And then we're like, oh man, we got to clean these things. We had no idea. We thought that was flavor. No, well, it turns out it is a flavor. It's just not a good flavor you want in your barbecue.
This is not a winning one.
Yeah, no, not you're just going off. And some of those guys, and there were people that were cooking on cans before us, but they were doing it in a different style. They were doing it low and slow, and they would just be more like a barrel. They're burning down in there. They kind of have a corrugated metal lid. They kind of put a stick in there to control the intakes, the exhaust. Jeff Spurgeon from I can't remember his dang team name. That's all it is. But he's kind of the first guy to really kick up the heat and cook the way we're cooking. And so he had a lot of influence on us early on. And I remember I ran into him at contests early on. He had a couple of homemade barrels. He was just cooking ripping hot. And then he'd take the meat and wrap it up and put it in an FEC, to finish it off. And that was really the only guy at the time when I started that was actually cooking on barrels and having any success. KC Can Outlaws, I believe was his name. KC Can Cook or something like that. But they won the Royal back in him and Bubba. Who cooks on a hunt stuff. They run the Royal back in like 2008 or something like that, cooking on cans. And so it really was something that we were just kind of making up as we went along. And it was a lot of fun. We get done with the contest and I call Tim or Tim would call me and be like, hey, what'd you learn today? What'd you figure out? And we figured out, we you can go too hot and too fast. So now it's kind of like, okay, I'll put water pans and stuff in there to slow it down because I like my brisket to be, say, 5 hours. I can get it done in 3.5, but I just think it's more consistent for a competition to get it done in 5. And so just stuff that we've learned over the years, ways to keep grease off the fire. We've gone through different iterations of that. Just, how to finish your meat on the thing. I mean, there's just been a ton of learning and it's been fun to do, over the last 10 years.
So let me ask you a question on the can. How often do you clean your can?
Yeah.
Now
and
I clean it every week.
Okay. So are you using like a Sam's degreaser or are you just scraping the stuff out or?
About the easiest thing to do, man. I put a little Kitty Diggins, man. You buy from Walmart down to the bottom, catch the grease, and then get that Sam's oven. the stuff in the blue bottle. Yeah. From Sam's Club. Straight around. You don't even need a pressure washer or anything. If you do it often enough, you just hose it out, flip it over, and then go about your business, man. It takes longer to take stuff that you got to take everything out. So taking out and what's funny is that when you first bought a Gateway, those that little inner liner that was welded in there. And so I cut that out, and that's the first time. And then Tim saw that, and he's like, "Oh, I should just, I don't need to weld those in there." Like, no, actually, you don't. So the initial old Gateways, if you run across one of them, that piece will be welded in there, and then you'd get 2 inches of crud on the outside that you couldn't get out. Trying to scrape it was not very clean. But those things, man, those things. If you get an old Gateway, don't get rid of it though. And if you do, let me buy it because those things look like tanks. We still have some of the original ones out in Las Vegas, and they're still they all cook great, but just the way he wasn't making them for shipping back then. So the intakes are a little bit taller, the exhaust is taller, that they're spread out a little bit more, and everything got a little more compact so it could fit on a pallet a little bit better, into a box. And those old ones, man, are just and they're closer. The top rack is closer to the top of the lid. And so they're just rib cooking machines because you kind of get a little reflective action off the top of the lid down onto the ribs. And so if you run into an old one, let me know. I'll take it off your hands because I love cooking ribs on those things.
I don't think I've ever seen an old one for sale. I think now it's become such a cult classic, everybody loves, Gateway drums and can cooking and stuff like that. I don't think anybody let it go. It's like, nah.
Yeah, I mean, and now, the price, just like everything else,
sure.
You'd have a retirement plan on your hand at this point.
Man, you got some great videos of your drums on your restaurant website too.
Oh yeah, those things are now. So what happened with a lot of those is those were kind of drums go to die. Like somebody somebody had burnt a cover on the outside of it. They wanted the new one. Tim's like, man, it's just easier for me to give a new drum. than sit there and try to fix this whole thing. And I said, all right. And I just took it down to the restaurant. He'll get some of them that aren't quite in round, or he'll have some kind of defect on them. I'm like, yep, send them on down to the restaurant, because man, they go through hell down there. Like they get turned on and they never get turned off. Like it is
melts.
Yeah, it is. You do not want to finish your life as, if you're a drum, you do not want to end up down there at the restaurant, because you will get worked to death.
So I heard
smelted into a pile of pork grease.
Yeah, it is, man. The guys running it, man, they take so much pride in it. But I just look at it's like 100 degrees out in Missouri, in the middle of summer, and you got 10 of those things running, and they love it. But I'm just looking at it and saying, God, that's hell on earth right there, man. I mean, but
it looks like a hell of a sight.
No, so my buddy Cotton, he runs a barbecue truck in Bowling Green. He told me, I don't know if he took your class, I think, or something. You told him that when you first started out doing your restaurant, you cooked your meats on cans. Is that true? Did you really run like a commercial kitchen on cans?
Oh, yeah. We ran it for years. We just now last year so our main location is in Branson, Missouri, and it's our busiest one. And we just brought in Old Hickories like literally months ago, and started switching stuff over, just because. And the only reason we did it, not that you couldn't do it, it's just we were so busy that the quality was starting to go down. And because, just cooking that much meat on there, they weren't getting the color I wanted. They weren't getting it in there. And I was like, guys, and they didn't want to switch. They're like, we love what we're doing. It's like, okay, you got to keep quality up. And it finally got to where they just couldn't keep up. So we just made that switch. We opened in 2017 and just made that switch last year. So we ran, we were doing, I can't even tell you how much barbecue we sold off of barrels.
How many cans you have?
We were running 10. And, we had a little trailer just because the health department, we were running them in, there was a trailer, but it was mostly just like a 6-foot kitchen up front. And then like we had a big area for the drums in the back. And, like I said, when we were busy, man, they would just almost never, we had people there around the clock smoking on them. I mean, I'm
just like picturing like the old, like, see the picture of Tootsie's, how she's out there manning the big barrels, the big and 1,000-gallon like pit smokers, and you're out there holding the can.
It wasn't me. I can tell you that much. It wasn't me. It was, maybe right.
Yeah.
And we had people doing it, but and there are good shots on our website. These guys out there working in that. Man, it's
that's fun. I bet that made it fun for them, though, playing with fire and all that.
They did, man. They liked it. They took pride in it, man. It was they're really cooking. It's just like the reason we like to do it. They like to do it. It's not, you're not hitting a switch and throwing meat in there, right? And then
right.
I mean, you're actively cooking, and you've got to actively make decisions. And the meat's different. How the drums cook is different. So yeah, man. There's a lot. I mean, there's a difficulty there, but there's also an element of pride and something that hey, man, I'm actually cooking barbecue.
I got you.
No, absolutely. And you have some fantastic videos up on your restaurant's website of the barrels and the whole like cook atmosphere. I love it.
Yeah. No, we had, and a lot of people come there and they want to check them out and everything else. It was it's a good thing for sure. Got us our start for sure.
No, absolutely. I mean, you're buying barbecue at a restaurant from a champion. You want the experience of that.
Exactly. So, man, your restaurant, you spoke a little about that, but can you tell us how did it come about, and if your competition scene helped the restaurant in any way for its business wise?
Well, I mean, so the guy I used to work with back in the restaurant back when I was in college, he was going to open one up, and he'd lived down here, and he was in kind of the corporate restaurant scene and was getting tired of it and just wanted to start his own thing. And he had a terrible idea, I thought. So I kind of said, hey man, let's look at this. And so he's like, okay. And so we got together, came up with the concept, hey, let's make it a barbecue restaurant. Started out, he did it as a food truck. And I wasn't trying to make any money. I was just helping him with the food. So I taught him how to cook, brought in the recipes, did everything. That lasted like 3 months before we got a brick and mortar. And same thing, went there and we kind of evolved the food based on the space. We got a space. It was an old diner that was inside of a theater. So even to this day, a lot of our food, we'll still have smash burgers and some stuff off the flat top because that's the equipment we had. We didn't have to buy any more equipment. So we're like, okay, let's modify our menu to this. And so really the way it came about is I partnered with a guy I knew that was in the restaurant industry. And I was just trying to help him come up with some of the concepts and some of the recipes. And then that happened. And then we opened up another concept, which are Downing Street Ports, like a gastropub, burgers, blah, blah. We opened that up about 6-7 months later because we got a really good spot to do it. And that was fun because I got to, kind of do barbecue type stuff, but it wasn't ever like barbecue sauce. So we'll do, we're doing, a little bit more steaks. We're doing burgers. We are doing some smoked chicken. We're doing some smoked pork. We're doing some stuff, but it's different cuts. And I have a lot of fun with doing that restaurant. And so that's how I got into it. Just really kind of, I never really intended to make a living from it. It was just more like I was having fun coming up with recipes, doing some investing in it. I was bankrolling it and hoping it's like, hey, one day maybe this thing will pay off. And only reason I did is this guy I knew was a tremendous operator. Like, he's not necessarily a cook, but he knows how to run restaurants. And so I was like, I'm never going to do it myself. Like, I don't want to get in that, I didn't want to get in that world where I was doing it all myself. And I just told my wife, I was like, well, we're never going to do it. Why, 50% of something's better than 100% of nothing. And so it ended up going good. And obviously it took a couple of years, and restaurants always, it's the thing. If you're getting in a restaurant, it's going to take you 2 years. I mean, I tell people that all the time. It's not that you are going to lose money, but before you really know if it's going to work or not, you have to give yourself 2 years. And within that 2 years, we were profitable and allowed me to jump in full time, and man, the rest of it in history.
I got you. So like you're talking about, for your business or whatever, do you like treat these competitions as like a write-off for your like advertising for your business?
They are, yeah, and it's helped me and especially early. You know what I mean? And it doesn't hurt to have trophies covering the walls and everything else.
Right.
And when you win big contests, everybody comes in and asks, have you won Memphis in May? And then you got to check, on the trophy for Memphis in May there. I mean, it certainly helps. The same with the Jack. The Jack did a tremendous job. They publish everything. KCBS doesn't do as good of a job, but yeah, no, it certainly helps, gives you credibility, gives you, and we've done some stuff with the Food Network, done Barbecue USA, did Guys Grocery Games, done a few other shows everywhere else. And that's, anytime you get on TV, man, that obviously pumps up the marketing. But yeah, I run all through the restaurant. Do I need to anymore? Probably not. Like right now, it's probably more ego than anything else while I'm cooking. I doubt it really helps the restaurants anymore. But certainly getting started, I mean, it gave you something you can market off of.
Well, I mean, at this point, you're like Tom Brady at the Buccaneers. Like, no, he didn't need to go to the Bucs, but he should try to win some championships.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I just don't know what else to do, man. I should quit, but it's just like that. Then I won't. Like this weekend, I won't cook, and my kids will all be off doing something. My wife will be out somewhere else, and I'll be sitting on the couch going, "Why the heck didn't I cook this weekend?" That's what.
You're like, what's the name? Did you ever like do? I forgot the gentleman's name. He's the pitmaster of Razorbacks.
Yeah, like, Drew.
Yeah, Drew. Do you ever like? Do you really get creative like he does? He's like, you know what? I'm going to try this. He pulled like the Larry Bird thing. This game, I only shoot left-handed layups.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
You'd be like that. Like, I'm going to cook this whole thing on one can. Or
if you get on the barbecue league, we've got some dumb stuff that Tim and I have done, including the original one drum challenge. But we took it further. We did one drum. We didn't even have an easy up. So all we had was our truck and a drum. And so we did everything on a tailgate. And while we were boxing, it was sheeting rain. So we're actually in the truck. I'm actually sitting in the passenger side of my truck, boxing the meat on the deck because you couldn't do it outside on the tailgate. So I mean,
like cutting board on your lap.
We didn't win like Drew did, but we both finished. I mean, I think I got 3 calls and Tim got 2, and we both finished in the top 5 at the contest. We both did really well. We ended up having it's funny if you ever see the barrels we had 2 barrels made. One of them had my face on it, one of them had Tim's face on it. And the loser of that head-to-head 1 barrel challenge, and that's what we cooked on. The loser had to cook on the other guy's head for the rest of the season. And I ended up, I ended up having to cook on Tim's head at the Royal. And those drums are out in Vegas now. So I'll still, whenever you go out, we go out and cook out west. We'll crank out those drums from that 1 meat challenge. But we try to do dumb stuff, man. And the hard thing is if you're chasing points or whatever, you can't necessarily do it because you can't afford to take a week off. I mean, I'll probably crank out. I've got a Jambo sitting in my garage. I haven't fired up. I've been threatening to break that out for a contest for years. So I'll probably end up cranking that out at some point this year and shocking the world.
Dude, that'd be like seeing you cook on a Jambo would be like seeing Billy the Kid shoot an AR-15. It does the same thing, but it wouldn't seem right.
I know, and I probably get killed on it, and there we go. Turn around and sell it. Probably a Jambo for sale on the way out the contest. Somebody wants to get one for cheap. But
what color did you paint it?
Man, so I was trying to get like an orange. Like we've got like an orange that we use, and Jamie ended up. I don't know if it's the only color orange he knows, but it ended up like Texas orange. So
bird long orange.
It's supposed to be more like a bright, like traditional orange color. And so I need to get it painted. And Tim said he'd do it. I was like, I'm going to bring my Jambo up to your paint shop up there and have you, Blaine Hunter's here. Blaine Hunter commented, "Oh my God, we got a world champion in the room." He didn't get blown away. But anyway, I'll end up getting it painted. I think I'm going to get it painted like an old Ford blue.
Nice.
We like so.
Yeah, like the Mako blue.
Hey, just tell Blaine he can't cook on a Jambo either. He did all this. He had his old R&O cooker that he won everything on, and then he went out and he bought a Jambo, and I don't think he's won since.
Man, shots fired.
I love Blaine, man. He's good. He's good. Getting riled up. It's one of my hobbies.
Here we go.
Barbecue, and I piss Blaine off. It's two things I do good.
Thank you, Garrett. That's true. It's not god awful Tennessee orange. The words.
Hey man, I'm a Mizzou fan. I got no love for Tennessee, so we're
me neither.
Good.
Go Cats.
I wouldn't even say that, Logan.
Watch your mouth, man. Watch your mouth. Watch your mouth. No. So let's talk. Like I said, you've done so much for the Sean just now. You've done so much for the
Sean.
The sport of barbecue. Can you tell us like the origins of like barbecue league, like where it came from? Like you're like, I want to. Is it like you want to get back, or you just feel like there wasn't enough like quality product out there, or what?
Yeah, so I mean, the origin of the barbecue league, we were sitting there, and I believe it was 2000. I want to say 17, maybe. And we're sitting at the KCBS banquet, and Travis had just won Team of the Year, and we're going up there, and I'd won a couple categories, I think, and I'm going up there, and I realized that without telling anybody, under the table, whatever, KCBS had have the Team of the Year prize money. And so we're all just sitting around there just going, the realization that they're not going to market us. Like they have a vested interest. Like the board of directors not only won't market us, they a lot of times are actively antagonistic, towards their so-called stars because the board cooks against them, jealousy, whatever it is, And so, Tim and I were sitting around, we're like, hey man, if we're going to market, somebody's going to market us, we've got to do it ourselves. So the initial idea of the barbecue league was just as a marketing, we've got to build up and do what KCBS and some of this other sanctioning bodies aren't willing to do, which is market. And I still think it's a struggle. Like I still think that's what barbecue is wrong. Barbecue is a marketing problem. I still think there's a hole in there. So that's what it initially did. And COVID is when it kind of turned into the online platform, the education platform. So the initial iteration was we had there were a group of 8 of us. We were cooking contests, filming content. It was more on-site live stuff. And then we kind of switched into the online model because COVID kind of made us. And so really it's our ideas are everything we do is to try to prop up competition barbecue and make it, increase its popularity, help cooks, do everything else. And so, yeah, I mean, that was the initial thing is it's like, how do we take this and maybe expose some people that aren't normally exposed to it, pull back the curtain of competition barbecue, so to speak. And I think we've been able to do that pretty successfully. I do think there's, obviously, competition barbecue right now because of cost reasons and other stuff is seen a little bit of decline and we've got some stuff we need to figure out, but we're thinking everything we can to try to help conquer some of those problems that are out there. So
do you think that's more of a KCBS thing, or do you notice that as an issue across some of the other governing bodies?
Well, I mean, I think competition attendance is down pretty much everywhere, so I don't know that necessarily it's KCBS. And I just don't think you can do business as usual. I don't think it's KCBS's fault necessarily. I just don't think they're doing enough proactively, right? Like, I just don't think, there needs to be some kind of catalyst to get us out into the, you just sit there and, okay, you think about the product competition barbecue from a marketing standpoint, not from a cook standpoint. I think it does a very good job of determining who the best cook is. What I don't think it does is do a very good job of marketing barbecue because we're all in our trailers. A lot of people will come at 2 p.m. on Saturday and everybody's tearing down. Nobody wants to talk. It's not a very good product. Companies want to put money into it, but they don't really know how. They don't know how to get return on the money. It's like, okay, well, what am I putting money into? A bunch of guys sitting in the parking lot that are closed off. And so
tailgaters.
Yeah. So I think I don't necessarily know that it's KCBS's fault per se. I just think it's the product competition barbecue, and there's got to be something out there that's kind of leading it and marketing it. If that makes any sense.
we've had a lot of like guests on the show, and like we've talked about we've had the same kind of conversation where it's like, how can we bring, because in order for, I feel like for competition barbecue to thrive, you have to figure out how to bring the public, make it more of a spectator sport.
Right.
Version. I mean, if God forsake, if golf can figure this out, surely we can.
Sure.
Yeah.
Golf, and I mean, honest to God, I mean, other than the fast cars and the women, man, have you ever tried to watch Formula One? I mean, that's like watching paint dry. Same guy wins every week, blah blah blah. They still get the viewers they're capturing America, right? You know, you just got to figure out a way to highlight the stories. The stories of barbecue outside of we do the same thing every week. That's like you get a show like Barbecue USA. It's great for one season, or even the first season of Pitmasters. It's great for one season, but you go to season 2, it's the same damn thing every weekend. Like, yes, I've literally done the same thing 400 times. You know what I mean? Yeah. How do you market that and make a TV show out of that? You really can't. I mean, it's just the product. And so I do think, and Tim and I, before COVID, you know, we had a competition we used to do at the Big 12 tournament where we were actually trying to do live scoring. And I think it's an idea that needs to be brought back. And I've talked to a couple of people about it. But if you go look on our YouTube page for the Barbecue League, you can watch this. And what we try to do is have a live broadcast. And the scores were coming in. You turned in chicken. And so you'd follow somebody through chicken. Then after chicken was turned in, as soon as the scores were done, they come back and announce it. You're like, okay, you know the score. And then okay, ribs would go through. And what did an interesting thing is, you know what you like, okay, do I need to go? I remember we did a second one. We were down here in Springfield, Missouri doing one. And I knew that I didn't get a chicken call. And I knew that I needed a big, brisket number to win. So, I mean, I made a decision. I'm like, man, I'm going to put burnt ends in the box. I'm going to do everything. So I changed my cook because I knew what the score was. It adds a little bit of drama to it. I think if somebody can get that format where it's more like, okay, there's something to see. We have a 2-hour stretch where you're going to get to see barbecue. You know, you got to educate people. You got to feed people. You got to entertain people. And we got to figure out those 3 things and have some kind of event that's there for the public to go to. This barbecue focus, man. A lot of times it's just the bands. Okay. Nobody cares. Or good barbecue fests will come up, and the organizers realize that, say, hey, I can do a barbecue fest without the barbecue teams. I can just get some vendors because nobody knows. They're not feeding anybody. They're taking all the power. They're whining about everything. You know what I mean? And then I can't tell you how many times over the years a good barbecue festival has just stayed a barbecue festival. They just get rid of the contest. And so there's a marketing issue there. There's a disconnect there. And something we got to figure out if we want to grow it. And right now, the costs aren't going to come down. The only thing we do is grow prize purses to make up for those costs. In order to do that, we got to get more eyeballs on it.
Well, I mean, I feel like CBA's kind of figured out some of that. Because I see, like, I don't feel like CBA contests are hurting for what I've seen, because every contest I see has like 40 to 50 people, and the prize purses are insane.
Yeah, just sometimes, some weeks, some of them are smaller. I mean, they have a lot. Right. There's a lot of cooks. It's a density of cooks in Texas. And I've cooked CBA. It doesn't differ significantly from KCBS. Like, I don't think you could take this CBA model and drop it in Tennessee. You're not going to deliver anything that KCBS isn't, if that makes any sense. There's you're still turning in the meat at the same time. You're still in your trailer. You're still turning in the same thing. I mean, they're literally turning in the same thing we are now. The same way. It's just a different scoring model, essentially. So I don't know if CBA's figured it out or not. I just think they're in Texas and
I mean, a lot of money there.
Yeah, I mean, and there's just high density people that cook. I mean, it's like Kansas City. I mean, Kansas City KCBS will go strong. Like, I did a 60-team contest last weekend that had no prize purse at all. And Kansas City can get away with that. But once you start getting away from Texas, start getting away from Kansas City, it's like California barely has any contests. Like the West Coast has nothing anymore. I mean, literally nothing. It's died off completely. And I don't think you could KCBS, CBA, whatever, anything traditional. I don't know that, okay, it's CBA now. I don't know that all of a sudden everybody's going to come out and cook it, if that makes any sense. So it's just a matter if you like I love Fred, and I love, I personally don't like off the street judges. But
I agree. That's the only thing I don't like about CBA is the off the street judges.
Yeah, and going in, and there's people that's food gravitates like a lot of those guys, and I think why a lot of those guys do good at the Royal is because a lot of the Royal judges are essentially off the street. They just got training and they come in, and so there's stuff you'll do that's more backyard, man. Like you'll watch Fred, he'll put a hard char on his meats. You know what I mean, at the end. So like I call it the Texas roll. He'll put his ribs on there and really sauce them, char them. I mean, something you wouldn't necessarily do in KCBS. And man, those go like crazy because it's more backyard flavor. And so once you learn what the fries you're cooking for, you can make it go. And but they did stuff like they changed the scoring down there, so 7's the minimum. because I remember early we did a contest in Dallas, and you'd have straight 10s, and then you'd get a bunch of 3s. And because the off the street judging and the differentiates what's good barbecue or not, they had to make it 7 minimum. So because people were just getting, you'd have 1 or 2 judges just destroying everybody.
Right. So those guys like, I'm not giving it a 10. I don't care.
Yeah, no, it's not as good as mine. I guarantee you get a ton of that in Texas, right? I mean, we do it at the restaurants. We always look at. I'll walk out and I'll look at the restaurant. I'll see a row of trucks from Texas in the front row of the parking lot. I'll be like, oh, good Lord, get ready for the Google reviews on this one.
Brisket had too much flavor, not pepper enough.
Hey, did you see the Brothers Cube comment?
Yeah.
Looking at it here.
Yeah, it's talking. Is thoughts on the KCBS doing away with the backyard and masters and going 4 categories each contest?
Yeah. Well, what I've been yelling about forever is take away the backyard, don't make it backyard, have a 2 meet series and a 4 meet series. And I think you can turn the 1 meet contest into more of your backyard, where you want, like, the backyard to me is like people should be coming out and experimenting. We don't have a backyard in KCBS. We have a professional that we call backyard, but those guys cook. I mean, they cook 30, 40 contests a year too. They travel around, they're point chasing. It's not backyard. Just quit calling it backyard. No. And I think you do a 2 meet series, and that's something that you don't necessarily have that big, like, it's an easy entry point for events. They don't need necessarily power. They don't need, they can do it one day. They can do some stuff. Then you have a 4 meet series, and maybe you have less, your majors are 4 meets, and you have less, maybe, 100 contests that are 4 meets. The rest of them are 2 meets. And I do think that's something that's being discussed. And I think it is a good way to bring some people back that have gotten out of barbecue because of the expense of it, where you only have, you don't necessarily need a camper. You can throw 2 gateway drums in the back of a truck and go out and you can cook a contest. So I do think that is something that would help tremendously. Yes.
Show up to the tournament if your backyard with a pickup truck, a tailgate tent, and a big green egg, and you do like a butt.
Right. And do the 1 meet could be the backyard. And what I would do is, if it was me and I was king of the world or KCBS for a day, I would turn those 1 meet events. I would say, hey, we're going to give, like, this is something we're including, we're doing it. But what I want you to do as an organizer, and we can even, make a grant for it. I know KCBS doesn't have a lot of money. So, but go out and get one of these sponsors that's looking for something. And like somebody like, Prairie Fresh or whatever that, okay, we can do these 1 meet rib contests. And what am I going to do? I'm charging you, the organizer, I'm going to give you a prize money. I'm going to give you the sanctioning. I'm going to give you everything for free. What I need you to do is to find 10 or 15 people local to this area to come out and participate in this 1 meet contest on Friday night. And that's your way to get, like, as well as I do, the guy that wins that thing is done, right? Like, he's out $1 million later. He's lost his job and got a new wife and everything else. And he's smoking meat. So, that's, if I was running, that's what I would do. I would get rid of the backyard. You have 2 meet, you have 4 meet. Make the 1 meet what a true backyard should be, which is getting into KCBS and then running that and see it. And then obviously, like I said, you've got to get some exposure. Reach out to some of the people that are at the front. Reach out to Joe Pierce or people that are good like that, and have them. Hey, talk us through a contest. Let's get some content. Let's get some stuff going. Partner with us in the barbecue league. Let's get some stuff out there that lets people aware of what we're doing.
No, I mean, like, the backyard now, I mean, we're showing up in trailers with, like, CTOs.
Sure. And you guys win. I mean, there's no, like, I promise you, I mean, you've seen it at the KCBS Invitational, where the backyard guys, there's just always one of them in those first 2 meets that are getting, even in the other meets, but definitely in the first 2 in chicken and ribs, you'll have 2 or 3 of those guys at least that are in the top 10. Yeah. Right? Like, you guys aren't turning in any product different than, there's backyard guys that have cooked chicken 200 times. Like, I promise you, their chicken is not any different than what a pro's turning in. We're just calling backyard. Doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, pros, right? So you let people float back and forth. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like, okay, I only want to cook 2 weeks. Why not?
Exactly.
With the like, what classes and stuff, the level between pro, quote unquote, pros and backyard. I mean, I've seen it tremendously this year, especially like the products, like even from 3 years ago, like the backyard products were more traditional backyard, like starting off stuff, and then now, I mean AJ's ribs, it's
slap.
Yeah, I mean they're just as good as any of the pros ribs I've seen. I mean, and the same with like all these chickens that the chicken boxes that are turning in. I mean, they're the exact same as the pros. Maybe the pros have maybe a little more uniformity throughout,
but
as
little more
flavor and
refined.
tenderness and everything like that. I don't see a huge difference between the two levels.
Yeah, they're going the same classes. I mean, they're about doing the same stuff, and it's just repetition at that point. And hey, you got points, you got everything else. Like I think it would be have a 2-meet series, have a 4-meet series, and then let's make the backyard truly backyard, which is get people into it. It's an entry point.
I love that idea.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
Number one, what is backyard about showing up to a competition that's 2 hours away from your home with a 30-foot cook trailer and a $5,000 smoker on the back of it? And then number two, 9 out of 10 of the dudes that we have interviewed on this show, including guys that are at your status or close to it, the majority of their origin stories are, I went to a fuck around contest on a whim, got a call, and then was hooked for the next 10 years.
Sure.
And it feels like you're not going to reproduce that with what backyard is right now because it's so incredibly competitive.
Well, I don't know. I think there was a backyard when I was doing it. I knew at the time was as good as anybody. You didn't. I think there needs to be an entry point. I just don't think it needs to be something you can stay at forever. If that makes any sense. I think there needs to be but I think it's also one of the things that makes our quote unquote sport very cool is that you can go against this weekend. You can go against the White Mamba, and last weekend I got my ass kicked. I can't. You get somebody from I was in Sugar Creek. I think I finished 7th or 8th. So you go out there and jump in there and compete against, the Michael Jordans and the Tom Brady's or whoever. You can go out and beat Blaine Hunter, if you're from Omaha, beat Porky Butts Barbecue and Ribs, and you can hang that up. And that's something you can't do. Like I can't go golf against Tiger Woods. You know what I mean? But in barbecue you can. So I think that's one of the cool things that man, that's what gets you hooked is you out there and you're like, man, I think my stuff's good. And then you go out there and you get that call and QO's sitting there next to you going, who the hell is this guy? And then you're like, all right, that's how the hook gets set for sure.
You're at the top of the mountain for in this game for sure. Do you I go to some contests and I nerd out a little bit. And, I love barbecue and I follow barbecue pretty heavy. So I see guys like you and Tim and Joe Pierce and Schaefer and Darren Worth and stuff like that. Do you ever roll into a contest? You see certain guys, you're like, okay, well, I need to. Well, maybe not you, but I need to bring my A game this week, or these are big guys I'm going against.
I don't even look at it hardly. I look at it, when I'm chasing points for team numbers, and I want to know. I want to kind of go where whoever you're going against is going, but I don't. To me, you're not even really competing against. You know what I mean? Like if you're sitting there worried about, oh, Joe Pierce is there or whatever. Like Joe Pierce can win the contest, I can win the contest, but am I even going to probably get judged against Joe? No. You know what I mean? So it doesn't, you got to control. I would say control what you can control in barbecue. And that's, turn your best 4 entries in. And the thing about it is you always get lucky to win. And I tell people that when you win, you got lucky. But winning consistently means that you have put yourself and your food in position to get lucky, if that makes any sense. The day that you turn in the 4 right entries, you landed on those right tables that got you a win. So anytime you win, you got lucky. But to put yourself in a position to get lucky is where the skill comes in. So I can't tell you any particular contest I'm going to win. It depends on what tables I land on. It depends on those judges. But what I can control is I can put in 4 good entries every week. So when the stars align and I land on those right tables, that I will win the contest. There's nothing worse than giving one away when that happens, when you've lined everything up and you missed a meet or something like that. You're like, shit, because it doesn't happen every day, right? It doesn't happen every week where everything, like a lot of times you're going to get wiped out or you're going to end up finding whatever the reason, bad judging, bad table, or just some weekends they just don't like your food. And that's fine. You did what you wanted to do and your food just doesn't score. And that's okay. Like the judges don't have to like your food, right? You can go to a location. They said, I just don't, whatever it is, there's too much can or too sweet or whatever the heck it is. It's fine. But the days that everything lines up, the stars line up, you have to turn in good enough food to win. And I don't worry about that, like who's where. Like to me, it's numbers. Like it's like sales. I'm in sales, right? I'm going to go out there and I'm going to go cook 10 contests. I'm going to win 3 or 4 of them, right? I'm going to win 3 of them. I'm going to get reserved, at one of them or whatever. And it's sales. Your ratio. It doesn't matter. Like who's there, it doesn't matter. I go cook those contests. I'm going to win this many. I'm going to get this many. And then that's all I worry about. making sure I put those four meats together, because I'm not cooking against Joe, right? What I'm damn is cooking against myself. And Joe and I might be at the same contests every week, so I have to have better food than him consistently across the year, if that makes any sense. So the hardest thing you can do is try to go win one contest. Like, you'll never do it. Like, when you're chasing points and something, you're sitting there, I've got to win. It won't happen. You just can't, no matter how hard you try. One contest, but you can sit there and say, I'm going to win 3 out of 10.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hey man, speaking of trying hard, do you? I'd love asking this, particularly to guys at your status. But do you have any particularly fond failure stories that you want to share?
I mean, back in my drinking days, I remember one time I didn't like my chicken pit. We were sitting there, Tim and I were at the Lake of the Ozarks, and we'd been heavy the night before and heavy all that morning. And we're sitting there, and I go to put my chicken on and open it up, and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't light my pit. So I'm sitting here scrambling, moving ribs around and trying to move everything. I think I made my pregnant wife run with my brisket box that day. So I that's a pretty big fail, all the way around on there. And I don't remember how I did, but I can't imagine it was very good. We drop it, man. I mean, I've done that and got calls where you drop, you're sitting there and I'll put stuff on the racks a lot. I'll pick up a rack and either tip it or whatever. Boom, there goes everything. And you're like, okay, what do I do now? I remember at Memphis in May, man, we were sitting there and it was our turkey entry or something like that. I can't remember. We dropped that whole damn thing. We had to start over from scratch. It's just,
man,
you do stupid stuff like that. I mean, just little bloopers like that. But in general, man, I'm pretty consistent. I anymore. I made more mistakes. So, I remember I dropped all my ribs into the fire one time when I was hanging ribs. The first rib hanger Tim didn't want to make at all. Like, he was against it. And I was coming kind of from the pit barrel world. And so I'm like, make me a hanger. I'm hanging ribs. Nobody else was. Everybody thought I was stupid. So he makes me a hanger, but it doesn't quite fit, right? So if you spin it and you spin it wrong, it'll fall. And so I'm in a contest, dropped every single one of my ribs in the fire. One of them somehow got underneath the fire basket. I still can't figure out how that happened. And so, it's drumming at the lid off. The fire is progressively growing and getting bigger. And of course, there's grease down there.
Grease fire going.
And I put the lid on it for a second. I looked at my brother-in-law and I'm like, all right, man, we got one choice, man. We got to go in there and get these. We got to open the lid. We got to go in fast. So we're taking ribs out, throwing. I think I got 4-place ribs that day too. So
yeah, man.
Still got a call.
3rd-degree burns. No big deal. Fingertips for babies.
Yeah. Exactly.
Eyebrows gone, everything.
Hey, let me ask you a question. You mentioned Memphis in May. Like, tell me how you're rolling into Memphis in May, because Memphis in May, I mean, it's pretty traditional. I feel like for people who cook the same way, or for the most part. And you guys, I mean, KCBS has been rocked upside down with the hot and fast nowadays. But you guys walked in there with a cooker that no one's ever seen before of that magnitude, and cooking a completely different way than anybody's ever cooked in Memphis in May. Tell me how, I'm sure, I mean, you and Tim are two of the best to ever do it, but so I know you had the ability, and you guys knew you had the ability, but was it still a little nerve-wracking walking there like, hey, we're going to try a whole new method, or was you like, yeah, we're the bad boys of barbecue at this contest?
I mean, we know most of the guys there, man. We know, I mean, we know we can hang with the people that are there. I mean, we've done stuff with all the,
Sure.
I cooked next to Myron for years at the Royal. You know what I mean? And we know Brad from the Shed. We know, Lambert's one of our good friends, and we know all these guys. Chris Lilly's good, Tuffy. And so the first one we did ribs, and that was, I guess, the year before COVID. We got 4th in ribs, and then we're like, okay, we're going to do shoulder. We did shoulder, and we're getting all this advice, and well-meaning advice, but you got Heath telling you advice, you got Mark Lambert telling you advice, and everything else. Not that we're not listening, but man, we know how to cook pork. I mean, we both won the Jack in pork, we both won the Royal in pork, we won everything in pork, and we're like, man, let's just do what we do, right? Like we know how to cook pork, so we know how to cook the shoulder. Shoulder's a butt on a stick, right? I mean, we know how to cook it. So originally, that's what we did. We did hot and fast. We cooked those shoulders just like we cook our butts. Burn and turn, got everything going, and then it went in shoulder. We're like, okay. But we didn't win the contest. Myron won the contest, and we're sitting there looking at each other. That and kind of Tim was, you could tell his wheels are spinning. And I'm like, man, we need to cook, whole hog. And he's like, yeah, how do we do it? We're talking about, well, we can do this, and do this. And Tim's like, I'm gonna build a drum. Well, you're gonna build a drum. Yeah, I'm going to build a drum. You're out of your freaking mind. And sure as heck, man, he built a drum to cook a whole hog on. So we knew, man. I mean, the hogs are made to cook on a drum. I mean, it's just the flavor you get cooking it fast. And the way a whole hog is, man, you cook it kind of running style. That whole thing's packaged up, right? You got the heat going, you get the skin crispy, you get everything going. Like it just cooks itself. It's like, honest to God, cooking a hog is easier than cooking anything else. I mean, as it turns out, we didn't know because our real first competition one was at Memphis the year we won it. But as it turns out, man, they pretty well just take care of themselves. And so man, we knew we could cook. We got some advice, but our thing was, man, we know what brought us here. And so let's stay true to what we do. And so Tim went out and he built a drum and we cooked the hog on it, ended up winning it. I mean, it wasn't anything trying to break the mold. It wasn't anything. It's just like, man, let's do what we know, let's dance with the date we brought. Right. And it turns out it works really well. And almost by accident, we're sitting there tasting the hog like, oh man, this thing's pretty good. And we know how to flavor food. I mean, part of it's flavor of food, right? I mean, we know how to do that. Tim's got a tremendous palate. We both know how to finish really well. And at the end of the day, man, you're putting a blind box together, getting it to the judges. We know that's good. And then after that, man, it's a story. And we got a story to sell, right? I mean, what's better? I mean, literally, everybody always tells the story, but Blues Hog, Tim raises the hog. He made the smoker, right? Charcoal's his, the wood's his. Rubs are his, the injections are his, right? The softens are. So you literally have the from the hoof to the final thing going on the judge's mouth is all blowing up Blues Hogs to plates, right? Like the plate
cradle to grave.
Everything else, man. He was a landscaper even before then, so he's bringing in plants, right? I mean, it's all Tim. He's mowing the yard.
Table right there, man.
That's what So it's such an easy story to tell. And Tim and I have been teaching classes together for so long. And if you've been to our class, man, half it's us making fun of each other. And so we bring that easy banter to our presentation. And so the judges are having fun. We've got a good product. We've got a good story. And so it really leads well to the Memphis style of cooking. Still got to turn the blind box in. Still got to feed them. We had set the bar so high that I think the judges of the finals were super excited to come eat our product. And our hog wasn't as good. And they knew it. We knew it. And they called us out on it. We ended up getting third, out of the finals.
I mean, that's okay. It's not
bad. I mean, it's not what we're looking for, but yeah, I mean, it's, I guess it's hard to complain about, but
I think you're right though. I mean, cooking the hog on a can, because the fire boxes or whatever, it's very strategic on where you can place it to which which muscles get the most heat and stuff like that, versus a huge cooker where it just evenly cooks all the way around and you kind of have to ice pack it and stuff like that. Whereas you guys can literally move your heat sources to the areas that you need. So I mean, it actually makes sense.
Yeah, you can put the screws, the hams, and the shoulders, and the your loins sitting up there all nice and cool.
Right.
So it works out really well.
So are y'all running like 4 separate fire boxes in that big drum smoker for the pig, or how's y'all doing that?
Say that again.
On the big hog cooker y'all got. So are y'all running 4 separate fire boxes?
Yeah, so we have 4 fire baskets in there. We don't necessarily light them all at the same time. We're usually running it off of 2 baskets at a time. So we'll kind of light 2 and then come back, light 2 more. Then you can kind of fill up the other ones after they go out. So we have 4 in there. The first year we kind of struggled getting it done. We were a little too hot, too fast. And so we had them all going at the end, just kind of ripping. Actually, we didn't even have it out. You talk about blunders. Like the smoker was still on and we're putting kale on it. So we're between presentations on the first round. You got 3 on-site judges. We're in there dumping water, trying to put the fire out. It actually ended up being a really cool effect because when you opened it up, a little bit of smoke would kind of roll out of it. The damn hog's cooking the whole time, and we're cooking kale and everything else, man. They cook our salad. It was a freaking nightmare to be like the judge would leave. You're like, put the lid down, it'll dump water on it. Put the lid down. The thing starts slowly just heating up. And so, we had some fun issues with that. But, yeah, man, I mean, we generally are running 2 baskets, but you can run all 4.
Did y'all have the show hog and the meat hog? Did y'all do that or?
So we cooked 3 hogs, and so we'll get the blind box from 1. We'll do 1 for the first round on site, and then we save 1 for the finals. Our show hog generally for the first round will be the finals hog, and then the same. We'll grab the finals hog will be the show hog in because they're coming in, and we're grabbing stuff off that one. So our show hog ends up usually being our finals hog. So yeah, that it worked out really well because it was really good when it was continuing to cook that whole time, accidentally.
Hey man, like you said, you gotta be lucky to win, right?
That's right. I mean, it's good. It's good hog. We knew. I mean, it's the thing about hog, man. I mean, it's so forgiving. I mean, as long as you don't hammer the loin, you know what I mean. Then you screw everything else, and it's just you can cook it.
Was that the Magna Lisa that Tim raises that y'all cooked? Yeah. Is that what you're cooking now? Did you cooking his Magna Lisa? Or are you still cooking the Prairie Fresh stuff?
I'll cook Prairie Fresh at a KCBS. Obviously at Memphis MA, we'll cook his hogs. But I cook Prairie Fresh shoulders and butts and ribs. I use them in the restaurant. So easy for me to get, man. We go through so many of them at the restaurant. I can just go in there. I mean, we cook Snake River at the restaurant.
That one.
My meat selection, I go and grab stuff from the restaurant. That I'm cooking the same stuff in common. I have been for years. Been just grabbing.
You're cooking Snake River Golds at the restaurant?
No, we cook blacks, but they don't grade them.
Still, I mean,
and they don't like they kill more golds than they do blacks. So we buy like a third of Snake River's production of briskets. So a lot of the stuff that gets packaged, and Blaine uses them too at his restaurant. A lot of stuff that gets packaged as blacks actually would have graded out as gold, but they have to sell it. They have to get enough animals that are black because that's what we're buying. And so you get through a case like I'm when I'm there looking, I'll find if I find a good case. Like sometimes you get a case that they're all like good, and you just grab them, throw them in the freezer or whatever. We go through a bunch of briskets, so you can find if you can sit there and get blacks and pick through them, then you're going to find stuff that's as good as gold.
I got you.
Man, that's awesome.
So man, talking, you're a man of much success, but when it comes to you, and who do you think? I'm sorry. When you think about barbecue success, who do you think is the best?
Who's your Meat Rushmore?
Who is your Meat Rushmore?
It depends on what you want to look at. If you want to look at like accomplishments or majors won.
Just
personally.
Barbecue business.
Yeah, but personally, like the guys that I think are the best cooks, other than myself or Tim. Obviously, I mean, I've learned a ton from him, but guys that I still fear that don't cook a lot, that it could come into a contest and win, right? Like today or anytime, 10 years from now. Tim's one of those guys. I think Travis Clark is one of those guys. They can jump in there and like Travis could take 5 years off and he could come back and he can go win any contest that he steps foot on. Tim, Travis, and then I think even like a guy like Joe Pierce could do that. So if you base it on who do I think, are the greatest cooks, not necessarily had the most success in competition barbecue, even those guys have had tremendous amount of success. But as far as like these guys are like my like the guys that I can sit there and look at a contest and I think there's they're going to be somebody, you're asking earlier about who you could look at in the parking lot. Like those guys walk into a contest anywhere and they've got a chance to win it. Now, as far as just purely based on numbers and success, winning the majors, everything else, I mean, you got to put Darren in there. I don't necessarily know that Darren now like elicits the fear, so to speak, that the other guys do, but obviously he's won, how much he won the Jack once or twice. He's won the Royal 3 times, I think. Back there's a time there like in 2013, 14 where Darren was, as good as anybody. And he was winning all those majors. But as far as like who I would put up there, I'd say Tim, Joe, Travis Clark would be the guys that I think you could plop anywhere on the planet at a barbecue contest and they have a really good shot at winning.
That makes sense.
I mean, that's not a bad list, man. Not a bad list. I mean, I think all of our guests we've ever had, obviously you've been on, I think
pretty much all of them.
Pretty much 99% of all the Meat Rushmores. So I mean, that to have that kind of status, I mean, it's got to. I mean, that's just I just think it's such a cool feeling, like in the arena of barbecue, you're one of the titans. So I mean,
it's good to hear. It's one of those things I never set out to be that way. It's just like one of these days, one of those days you woke up. I mean, I was looked at, coming through like guys like Darren Tuffy, guys that are winning like and just even to be in the same conversation with those guys is more than I would have ever dreamed of happening. And like I said, just one of those days you wake up, you kind of you're at okay, you won your first grand, and then next thing I'm over 70 now, and winning big contests, and it's just like
how many team of the years you got?
Appreciated it enough along the way.
How many team of the years you got?
3 of them.
3. That's
just 3.
That's insane. Like it's like I know talking to Jordan, like what it takes
crazy.
to get one. And
lost that one last year on the last game of the season. So I don't know, something I normally always make fun of Joe Pierce. I always make fun because he could never win in October. And I think karma kind of got me last year because I couldn't win in October. So I always, I think me mouthing Joe that many times, kind of made it where I kind of went a little cold there. At the end
Joe
of the
and the Atlanta Braves.
He is, man. He's strong in season, and you get him to the final week, and then. But Jordan went out and took care of business, man. I mean, hats off to him. He was really blowing me out early in the year, and I kind of went on a hot streak and ended up taking the lead, and then I cooled off a lot, and then Jordan ended up getting that win. Obviously getting that Royal win on Thursday was a gut punch for me, but tremendous for him. And and then he got that win that last weekend. So he took care of business, and I didn't, and that's the name of the game, man. Does
the Royal count for team of the year?
What's that? Yeah, Royal counts. Yeah, that one hurt. Man. So
that's max bonus points right there.
Yeah, it's a big contest. And that's what it was. I mean, we both had the same amount of wins, and came down to the bonus points, and he got he won that, and I think Murfreesboro, Illinois, I guess, was max points. So we won a couple big contests late that ended up, and they're hard to find. Big contests are hard to find right now. So if you got a chance and you're at a 35 teamer and plus, and you're chasing points and you can get a win, it's hard. It's hard to overcome.
So what are your goals for this year?
Oh, me, nothing. I'm trying to get to the Jack. I mean, that's I obviously win Memphis May would be a big one. We've got that one circled on our calendar. I want to get to the Jack and hopefully have good success there. And always, the Royal. I mean, the majors essentially are what I've got circled. So I've got one more. I've got to win to get into the Jack, and then I'll be able to cook, Memphis, the Royal, and the Jack, and those. I'll end up cooking. I'm once I get my 7th here, I'll probably back off and spend some time in the restaurants, and then I'll probably fire back up again in September. Kind of get stuff rolling, so I'm not going in cold into the Royal and the Jack. I think Jack's second week of October, and the Royal's not, I don't think, all the way until beginning of November this year. So the
Royal's Halloween, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so last weekend of October.
Yeah, my wife wasn't very excited about when I told her the dates. I'm like, I'm cooking a Royal this year. She goes, when is that? I said, Halloween. And she goes, I have an 8-year-old. She goes, you do what now? And I'm like, it's not their first. It's okay. I can miss one.
There was Halloween one year, and man, the kids had a blast. Man, they had like a map set up where they go around and get candy and everything else. Man, you got 500 places to go.
That'd be cool.
So yeah,
I would definitely participate in that. I would get a shit ton of candy for kids if we're gonna do Halloween at the Royal. That'd be fun.
Yeah, look, somebody will organize it. Just watch on. Just look around, and somebody will organize it. And they'll get a map put together and everything else. Man, I know my kids. I mean, this is the first year at the Speedway, maybe. They had it at Halloween, and man, my kids loved it. They were wandering around, they had so much candy. It was great. We were all dressed up too. We had a costume contest, and you go back and look at pictures of that. It was a lot of fun.
So this
be good too. I think Halloween's on a Thursday, if I'm not mistaken, this year.
Yeah, it is.
It's not even on. It's on like the team party night. It's not even on a night where everybody's cooking. So it should be pretty good, pretty fun, and pretty wild.
Tell my wife that. Brad.
Yeah, she's missing out. You got to show up there if you want her. I don't know if you want her there or not. I don't know if you want to oversell it.
No, this is gonna be my first Royal, so I'm excited for it. I'm ready for it. But no, man. Anyways, all right, man. It's that time, man. I know I didn't give you any heads up there, Houston. My apologies.
It gets louder every time.
I know, whatever. No, man, that sound means it's time for the Brothers Q Barbecue Supply Lightning Round, sponsored by Brothers Q Barbecue Supply. Check out Brothers Q Barbecue Supply for all your barbecue needs. So, Brad, on the show, we do a little lightning round. Like I said, it's just a few questions, little one-hitters. Don't think too hard. And you ready?
I'm good at that.
Yeah, don't think too hard. I'm good at that too.
Hey, FYI, who's doing it this week?
I'll knock it out this one.
All right, go for it, bro.
All right, man. What is your favorite thing to cook at home?
I like to cook. I haven't already having to think too hard, man. Pasta, I'd say. You can tell.
That is popular, actually.
Carb-full figure.
Love some carbs.
Body by barbecue. I'm gonna get some of those shirts, man.
I don't touch barbecue much at home, man. To be honest with you.
Me neither.
Who does?
That's about it.
Honestly, for barbecue cooks, you should say barbecue by Mexican, because that's what 90% of all the cooks eat after the contest is Mexican food.
Pizza, Mexican, absolutely.
Yeah. I really want a salad, but it's hard to find. All right, beach or mountain vacation?
Oh, beach all the time.
Fair enough. What is one thing you have on you when you cook and you can't say your thermometer?
One thing I have on me when I cook, the shirt usually, but sometimes,
pants typically.
But man, I wear my bands, because they prevent burns. I didn't have one on this last week and it burned it, so I'll wear those little sweatbands, and that's why I got in the habit of actually leaning your arms on the drum, and it keeps you from. We used to call that earning your stripes. When you get that, you get go look at a drum cook and they got marks up and down their arms. So I'll put a band on to kind of.
That's a great tip.
That is a good tip, man. Well, it's like me. I can commit a robbery at any time. I have 0 fingertips anymore. So it's
right.
I've got where I can eat like my business partner will be cooking something and I can eat like lava because I'm used to tasting my ribs right off the grill and everything else. He'd be like, "How can you eat that?" I'm like, I do this, more than that, trying to taste what I'm going to turn in.
If it's not burning, it's not delicious. Now, what is one thing you know now that you wish you knew at the beginning of your barbecue career?
Man, I mean, I think I learned it pretty early, but just when in doubt, like keep cooking it. I think is the main tip I could give somebody that I wish I would have known. You're so worried about it's hard to overcook meat. You can do it, obviously, but it's hard. And so if you're not sitting there going, "Yep, that's done," cook it more.
Fair enough. All right. What, like I said, for KCBS cons, if you're gonna have a walk-up song, what's it gonna be?
Well, let's do the CBA, and I didn't make this. It was Reagan that gave it to me, but he did Britney Spears. "Oops, I Did It Again" has kind of become my walk-up song for CBA. So I guess I just rolled through that, kind of got to where I liked it. So
I think mine would be more Toxic if it was going to be Britney.
Wrecking Ball would be pretty good with Miley Cyrus. We could do that if we want to go that way.
No, man. All right. And the land of the Ozarks, besides yourself, which one is your favorite barbecue restaurant? Or
in the Ozarks?
Oh, well, yeah.
I got to go with my man Drew at Hog Tide Barbecue in Aurora, Missouri. Drew's an old KCBS competitor, and he does a really good job.
Nice. All right. Last question. Heads up. Gun to the head. Who's the better cook, you or Tim?
Oh, God. It's not even close. I am. How many world championships do I have without Tim? And how many world championships does Tim have without me? Just that answer the question. We can find out what
the numbers speak for themselves.
I mean, to be honest with you, Tim's a tremendous cook, and the good thing is, like, he'd win everything. He just, like, he's got such severe, I don't know if it's ADD or whatever it is, but he cannot like do anything the same. So he hurts himself. I think he's his own greatest enemy. If Tim ever locked in, and I'm more of a technician and he's more of the artist. And if he ever locked in, that's why we're tough when we're together, because I'll do all the technical cooking and then I'll let Tim like go make us a finishing rub. What does this need? And Tim can tell you, man, he's trained his palate. So it just depends on what you're looking at, man. I mean, yeah. Tim is one of the guys that I think, why we cook so well together is he's about the only person I sit there and trust that, hey, is that done? If he says it's done, I believe him. Like anybody else, I'm like, give me that. Let's go find out. Whereas, I take that. So, but ultimately I've got to say myself, just because I can't.
The White Mamba, man.
What's that? Yeah, I'm the White Mamba. Yeah, exactly.
You can't be called the White Mamba if you don't say yourself.
Yeah, no, the stats speak for themselves. We'll just say that. It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
The numbers talk.
Yeah,
I like it, man. I like it. It's like a golfer. I mean, I'm okay. I'm okay with the gold jacket on.
Yeah.
No. Gold jacket? Cool, what is this, Happy Gilmore?
Yeah.
It is Happy Gilmore. Okay, quit talking to me, Swan.
They're normally green.
No, it's a gold jacket. I'm wearing gold jackets. I know, dude's a fucking master. Shut up. No, man. But I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. You were very kind to grace us. And like I said, I know I can speak for all of us on the show. You're definitely one of our goats.
Absolutely.
That we look up to, and definitely you're a great ambassador for the sport. And I appreciate everything you do for barbecue.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, sir, man. So now's the time of the show. Like, can you let people know, like I said, where they can find you? And so what the restaurants you got? Because you have Snow Cone one too, didn't you? I saw you.
Yeah, that's a franchise. That's Bahama Bucks in Branson. But we've got a place, Downing Street Poorhouse, Getting Basted, Mythical Witch is our sandwich shop. just opened a place called Side Chick, which is a chicken restaurant. Got the Bahama
yeah.
Bucks, and then obviously the Barbecue League. So you can find us any of those places on Facebook, Instagram, sometimes TikTok.
The Tiki Takis.
The TikToks.
Yeah.
It depends on where it goes. I've outsourced all that part of my life, so it works out pretty well.
If you're ever in any contest, just look at the podium. Usually you'll hear his name last.
God, I hope so. So after last weekend, I need a little success. We'll get out here in Colorado next weekend.
I mean, you can call me Miss Cleo, but I think you're gonna get that number 7, man. I think you got it, buddy.
I'll credit the show. If I get the next one, I'll be like, you got to go on the show if you want to get.
That's right, man. We're what's that movie? It's like the next, or like with Dane Cook. It's like you date me, then the next one's your husband.
Good luck, Chuck.
Good luck, Chuck. Yeah, we are the Good Luck Chuck podcast. So all you heavy hitters want to get a Good Luck Chuck, come on the show. You win the next one. I bet Brad's going to win in Colorado because of this show.
I feel good about it.
Feel good about it. No.
That's for sure.
All right, man. Well, thank you, Brad, for coming on my show, buddy. I truly appreciate it, and it's been an honor to have you on here. So
I appreciate you guys. Thank you,
man.
See you, buddy.
Hot damn, y'all.
Hot panties.
Hot panties.
Brad Leininger, man. That was a fantastic show. Fantastic guy. Definitely something I aspire to be.
Oh, you took it down a button. I guess I'm gonna.
I mean, I gotta show the chesticles.
There you go. No, fantastic.
My wife be like, button that shit up, button it up now.
Fantastic guest. That was solid, y'all.
Oh, dude, it's Brad. I was so excited. No, so that wraps up our World Champions month, man. Next month is something I am extremely excited for. We're bringing it back to the backyard, guys. We're gonna show some backyard, some love. Like I said, that's near and dear to all of our hearts, as we are mere backyard cooks.
Backyard
what? No, so check us out. Like I said, I'll be announcing our next guest coming up soon, and I think Thursday we had check it out. Tune into the show. Tune into the site. Yeah, these guys are like, what's he talking about? I have a big announcement coming. We're gonna go live, and so check us out Thursday around maybe same time. Who knows?
Same bad time, same bad channel.
Same bad time, same bad channel. But thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight. And AJ, Houston, anything you want to say to the ladies?
Be good or be good at it.
That's right.
Be good or be good at it. Fair enough, man. Fair enough. No, man. But on that note, when it comes to barbecue, make sure you're always right on cue. See you, everybody. Deuces.
That's all, folks.